At T8, solve logarithmic equations 2. On some of these, probably on most of these, there could be more than one way of getting the answer, and I'm going to show you a couple of times what you could have done or which ways you could have worked with it. So let's do this. Okay, so on this, well, before I begin, let's write it down twice. Okay. So what most of you would probably think to do, like, oh, let's divide by 10. Okay, that's fine. And once we divide by 10, we get log 13 of x equals 1. Then you do 13 to the 1 equals x. So our answer is 13, and you'd be done with it. And that's fine, that's great, that's perfect. But a few of you might say, hey, there's a number in front of this log. Could you put it back where as an exponent? And yes, definitely. So log base 13 of x to the 10 equals 10. So it'd be 13 to the 10 equals x to the 10. Now let me clarify something. This 13 and this 10 is this 13 and this 10. And then this x to the 10 is this x to the 10. Well, if both exponents are already the same, then the bases would have to be the same. So our x would be 13. Okay. So if we did the same thing, let me write it down real quick. 6 log base 7 of z equals 12. 6 log base 7 of z equals 12. So most of y'all would divide, which is perfectly fine. 12 over 6 is 2. 7 squared is what z is, which is 49, and you would be done. Or you can move the 6 up to the exponent and get log base 7 of z to the 6 equals 12. 7 to the 12 equals z to the 6. Okay, and then some nastiness going along here. To get 6 away from the z, we could make it to the 1/6 power, which means putting 6 on bottom, and 12 over 6 is 2, which would be 49. Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm recording it right now, but I'm hearing you. You're saying just stick with the easy way. Okay, I'll stick with the easy way from now on. I just wanted to show you that there was a couple ways of doing these problems. Alright, so we are subtracting, and if we put them together, then we're going to be dividing. So log base 3 of w over 8 equals 3. So 3 to the third equals w over 8. 3 to the third is 27. I'm going to put that over 1. Equals w over 8. And then if you cross multiply and divide, we're going to get 27 times 8, which would be 216. That's going to be the answer. Log x over 1 equals 3. X over 1 is the same thing as x. There's not a base, so the base is 10. So 10 to the third equals x, because it's x over 1, so it's just x. 10 to the third is 1,000. And so that's what x is 1,000. We are adding, so we're going to multiply. So log base 16 of 2u equals 2. So 16 squared equals 2u. 16 squared is 256 equals 2u. So we divide by 2 and get 128. If there's a log there's just one log on this side and it equals one log on that side, cancel them out. Because 5w is supposed to equal 15. So if you divide by 5, then your w is 3. There's a 1 log base 3 on this side, and there's 1 log base 3 on this side. Cancel them out, and your arguments are supposed to equal, so 8w minus 10 is supposed to equal 6w minus the 8w, which is negative 2w, divided by negative 2. W is 5. Solve, simplify your answers. Answer or answers. If there are multiple answers, separate them with commas. There is log base 4 on both sides, so we're going to cancel them out. And we have z squared minus z equals 2. Your goal is to get z by itself. Because we have a quadratic, when your largest exponent is 2, then we are going to get it equal to 0. Then you are going to factor. What multiplies to get 2 and subtracts to get 1. 2 and 1. Nope, 2 and a positive 1. So what would your zeros be? What would make the first one 0? 2. What would make the second one 0? Negative 1. Okay. Now those are your possible answers. But I haven't told you this yet. This number can never be a negative, and it can't ever be 0. It has to be some kind of positive answer. So we have to pause and put 2 in for z squared minus 2 and see if it gets 0 or a negative, which would be 4 minus 2, which is 2. 2 is positive, so this 2 will work. And then if I put negative 1 in, negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1, plus positive 1 is 2. So negative 1 works also. I'll try to make it less complicated whenever we get to something that actually doesn't work. So log 8 and log 8 cancel out. X squared minus 4x equals 5. X squared minus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Factor, bring the negative down, multiply to get negative 5 and subtract to get a negative 4, which would be 5 and 1. So your possible answers is a positive 5 and a negative 1. Now we're going to put 5 back in here and get 25 minus 20. 25 minus 20, which is 5, so that worked. So 5 is an answer. Then we're going to put negative 1 in there. Negative 1 squared minus 4, negative 1. 1 plus 1 is 5. So that worked also. So both of those are your answers. So just separate them with a comma. Okay, here we are. So cancel, cancel. U squared equals 9. So what do you square to get 9? A 3 and a negative 3. Or u plus or minus the square root of 9. And the positive square root of 9 is 3, and a negative square root of 9 is negative 3. If you put 3 back into u squared, you get a positive 9. Don't do that, just a second. Positive 9, so positive 3 works. If you put a negative 3 in and you square it, you get a positive 9, so it works. So both of those are your answers. Cancels. Got to set it equal to 0, so you move everything over. bring your first sign down, multiply your two signs to get your second sign. So you're going to subtract to get 2. So that's going to be 5 and 3. So our possible answers are going to be a positive 5 and a negative 3. Both those are going to work because it doesn't give me 0 or a negative number. There we go.